I saw it on Facebook.
Oh, cool. Thank you.
There's a prayer.
Awesome. Good evening. We will call the April 2nd, 2019 regular City Commission meeting to order. It is 7 p.m. and I hope you felt welcomed this evening by Chris Ruse, our police captain, and Kelly McGuire, our finance director. They were our greeters, and I'd like to introduce the folks who are sitting up in front of you this evening. To my right, your left, Wendy Nichols, our recording secretary, and Andrew Moss, our assistant city clerk. City Clerk Lisa Dame, Commissioner Dwight Selby from Zone 1, our Deputy Mayor and Zone 2 Commissioner Troy Kent. To my left and your right, Commissioner Susan Persis from Zone 3, Commissioner Rob Littleton from Zone 4, City Manager Joyce Shanahan, Assistant City Manager Claire Whitley, City Attorney Randy Hayes, and for those of you listening online, I'm Mayor Bill Partington. At this time, Pastor Dan Cregan from Rima Ridge Baptist Church will provide the invocation. If you'll please rise, and that'll be followed by the Pledge of Allegiance.
Let's please bow our heads and pray. Heavenly Father, we thank you that in your infinite wisdom, you have made eternal salvation available to every person on the face of the earth by believing, accepting, and receiving your Son. We have seen throughout human history your great blessings come upon those peoples and nations that have believed you and have obeyed your commands. We understand the truth of Psalm 33 and verse 12. Blessed is the nation whose God is the Lord. We pray tonight that many people across our nation, in our state, and in our beautiful city would honor you. We ask for your blessings upon each of our city commission members, as well as upon Mayor Bill Partington. May you give them wisdom and direction as they guide the affairs of Ormond Beach in this evening and into the future. We pray these things in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Pastor. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
If Julia Marshall from the Department of Children and Families would join me, we have a proclamation to present in honor of Child Abuse Prevention Month. Whereas Florida's future depends on the healthy development of our children, and whereas the abuse and neglect of children can cause severe, costly, and lifelong problems, and whereas every child has the right to a safe, healthy, and happy childhood where they are educationally and developmentally on track, and research shows that parents and caregivers who have support systems and know how to seek help in times of trouble are more resilient and better able to provide safe environments and nurturing experiences for their children. And whereas individuals, businesses, schools, and faith-based and community organizations must make children a top priority and take action to support the physical, social, emotional, and educational development and competency of all children. And whereas the blue and silver pinwheel stands as a symbol of the health and happiness all children deserve. And during the month of April, Prevent Child Abuse Florida, in collaboration with the Governor's Office of Adoption and Child Protection, the Florida Department of Children and Families, and the Ounce of Prevention Fund of Florida will implement Pinwheels for Prevention, a statewide campaign promoting awareness of healthy child development, positive parenting practices, and the types of concrete support families need within their communities. Now, therefore, I, Bill Partington, on behalf of the entire Ormond Beach City Commission, do hereby proclaim the entire month of April 2019 as Child Abuse Prevention Month in the city, and urge all residents to join me in recognizing the efforts to protect Florida's children and Ormond Beach's children. So thank you very much for being here.
We just want to thank you so much for recognizing this issue in our community. We know that if we work together, we can address these issues, and it does take acknowledging it to start. So we want to encourage you all on April 5th. We want to encourage you to wear blue to just acknowledge this issue in the community. Thank you so much. We appreciate it.
Thank you for all you do. All right, and if our victim advocate here in Ormond Beach, Evelyn Rabastini, will join me. Thank you. Can you bring that over or down? Got you some flowers. Well-deserved bouquet for Evelyn, who does an amazing job working with our victims here in Ormond Beach. To celebrate National Crime Victims' Rights Week, we asked our victim advocate to be here to accept the proclamation and a small token of our appreciation for all the hard work that you do. Thank you. Yep. Nobody has a bigger heart than Evelyn that I've ever met. Always in her capacity as a victim advocate, she has worked so hard to help our residents who are dealing with crime. And so this commemorative week celebrates the energy, perseverance, and commitment that launched the victims' rights movement, inspired its progress, and continues to advance the cause of justice for crime victims. A crime can leave a lasting impact on any person, regardless of age, origin, race, creed, religion, gender, sexual orientation, immigration, or economic status. And it's important to a community to have victim advocates who can help victims recover and face the consequences of crimes. Evelyn, you do that every day in the hard work that you do, and so we want to honor you by recognizing National Crime Victims' Rights Week in the city of Ormond Beach and reaffirm this city's commitment to creating a victim service and criminal justice response that assists all victims of crime, not only during this week, but throughout the year, and also to express our sincere gratitude and appreciation for those community members, victim service providers, and criminal justice professionals who are committed to improving our response to all victims of crime so that they may find relevant assistance, support, justice, and peace. And so that includes not only you, but Chief Godfrey and our whole department. We want to recognize you and thank you. And so on behalf of the entire commission, I'm proud to pronounce April 7th through 13th as National Crime Victims' Rights Week. So congratulations.
I'll only echo what the mayor said. This woman does an amazing job, and she really does a lot of work behind the scenes. We meet every 2 weeks, and we talk about crimes in the city and everything going on. And she has her own slide, and she has a lot of victims that she helps day in and day out, even on the weekends. So I'm very proud of her, and we're blessed to have her. Thank you, Mayor.
Audience remarks. We'll start tonight with Rich Cooper.
Good evening, Commission, Mayor, staff. I'm here this evening. My name is Rich Cooper. I'm here this evening as the chairman of the Ormond Beach Chamber of Commerce. The Ormond Beach Chamber of Commerce sent out a survey to our membership of over 800 early in March. The survey went to all representatives of the businesses. The survey was received by 1,186 individuals. 11.64% response rate on the survey. Of those that responded, 71% of the members were in support of the half-cent sales tax. The results of the survey were vetted by our Government Affairs Committee and presented to both the Executive Committee and Board of Directors. Both boards unanimously voted to support the half-cent sales tax. Our mission, the Ormond Beach Chamber of Commerce, will serve the community by advocating for business, developing leaders, and promoting economic growth. Taking a position on this issue falls within our mission and strategic plan. We will be educating our members on the reasons why they should vote yes in May. Thank you.
Thank you, Rich. Next is Jim Schultz.
Jim Schultz, 117 Harvard Drive. Yeah, true informed consent's incredibly important. Just reflecting back, almost 50 years ago, I actually taught in schools. It's hard to believe that's a long time ago. My two sisters did it professionally. I sort of did it for money to go to college. But yeah, it was an interesting experience, one that I don't think I'd want to repeat again. But anyways, what I want to talk about today is a doctor who treats, well, he's a pediatrician, and he treats high-risk kids, released his whole database of all of his people he's treated, and a outside independent contractor who has expertise in medical records looked at it, and he took children that he had vaccinated, or in some cases not vaccinated, from birth till where they are now at 12 years. And what they looked at was the different rates, and going through his medical records, there were 700, well, his total practice of kids that qualified to be in that group were 3,344 children. 715, rather substantial number, totally didn't get vaccinated. And there was one autistic kid out of that group. In other words, 16 times less than what the current official government rate is for children to become autistic, and that's 1 in 45 a few years ago. He had 6 children in the rest of the group, the other 2,000 and some, that got autism in the partially vaccinated group. That's 1 in 438. In other words, almost 10 times less than the official government record. Even if this isn't a government certified study, it should give cause for pause and concern. Because one of the main issues right now is the official government number for kids with chronic diseases is 54%. When the vaccine program, after the liability was eliminated, guess what happened? It was it was 12% then. Rather, it almost exactly tracks the increase in vaccines. Again, not conclusive proof, just a moment to pause and wonder. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. We move to approval of the minutes. They have been sent to the commission for review and posted to the city's website. These are the regular city commission meeting, March 21st, 2019. Any additions, deletions, or corrections? Hearing none, we will deem those approved, and we are at the consent agenda. The action proposed is stated for each item on the consent agenda. Does anyone wish to pull anything from the consent agenda?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to pull item F.
Mr. Mayor, motion to approve the consent absent item F.
I second the motion.
Lisa, if you would, please call the vote.
Commissioner Selby,
Yes.
Commissioner Kent,
Yes.
Commissioner Persis,
Yes.
Commissioner Littleton,
Yes.
Mayor Partington.
Yes, and that brings us to 7F.
Resolution number 2019-76, a resolution finding a public purpose for the acquisition of certain property generally situated at 385 South Old Kings Road in Ormond Beach, Florida, consisting of approximately 3.7 acres, approving and authorizing the execution of a contract for sale and purchase of the property and setting forth an effective date. This is resolution number 2019-76.
Just need a motion and a second
So
for
moved.
discussion.
Second.
All right, and Commissioner Selby.
Thank you, Mayor. Well, there's a couple of issues that I have with this contract in reflecting about it. And for those who may not be aware, don't have a copy of the agenda handy, this is regarding the Duncan property on Old Kings Road, the purchase of it. It's a $285,000 purchase for 3.7 acres, I believe. I have some issues with this. The first one being, and these aren't in any particular order, but number one, the price. We're paying above our own policy. It's only a few $1,000s, but nonetheless, we have a procedure, an ordinance where 2 appraisals are required, and we can average the 2. The actual purchase price is slightly above the average of those 2. A big issue is environmental. We are buying this property, and we are taking on the financial responsibility to environmentally clean this property. We know there are barrels, there's numerous 55-gallon drums on the property labeled with brake fluid and oil and so forth. And while there's a $65,000 holdback, retention, escrow money, that money is not to be used for anything environmental. And typically sellers are responsible for cleaning property prior to them being acquired by the buyer. So I have a big problem with that, and we really don't know what the ultimate cost will be. This property is so heavily wooded, there could be other buried things for years and years and years. The owners have stockpiled all kinds of stuff, vehicles, these 55-gallon drums, etc. A couple of another item is title insurance. Typically, title insurance is paid by the seller. We're being asked to pay for it. The purpose of title insurance is to ensure that indeed the seller has what the seller claims he has, which is clear title. And so he provides title insurance in order to prove that. And generally, typically in this area, sellers pay for that, not buyers. Another comment I have is the personal property. We're giving the seller 6 months to remove his personal property post-closing, after the closing, and potentially an additional 3 months if he's in good faith removing that personal property. In my opinion, that's just far too long. We shouldn't do it that way. At best, we should close in escrow, put all our money up, give him whatever, 2 weeks or 30 days to get his junk off, and then disperse the funds, but not potentially 9 months. And the final comment I have, I've never met the seller, Mr. Duncan. He did attend our last city commission meeting, and I found his behavior to be erratic, and that causes me to be concerned about. I've never met him, so I won't say anything else. But in any case, those are the concerns I have. So in light of all of that, while I support the acquisition of this property, I do not support the draft of this contract under these terms for the reasons that I've just stated.
Thank you, Commissioner Selby. Anyone else? Yes, Mr. Mayor. Deputy Mayor Kent.
Thank you. Mr. Mayor and Commission, Commissioner Selby brings up, I think, all very good, valid points. And with that being said, I'm going to tell you why I'm going to approve this tonight. And the reason I'm going to approve this is those are all very good, valid points. And even with all of those very good, valid points, after living through the flood of 2009 in the city of Ormond Beach, where we had over 30 inches of rain that really came down in an 18-hour period. And those residents in that neighborhood, the flooding they dealt with, Mr. Mayor, this will increase our capacity. This is a good thing for Ormond Beach. And I think that you also agree, Commissioner, that you're for it, but there are things about it you don't like. And I've got to tell you, I don't like those things either. I agree. But I think the city getting that property and making sure that we do everything in our power so that our residents don't deal with a flood issue like that again is a good thing. So that's why I'm going to support it.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Commissioner Persis.
Yes, I totally agree with Deputy Mayor, excuse me, Kent. I'll get it out eventually. Deputy Mayor Kent. I think just the issue of the flooding is what I am concerned about too in that area. And I think the city purchasing this property is a huge benefit for our city for that main reason. So totally agree with Commissioner Selby about what he said, but I think the end result is more important for us to get it. So I will be approving this also.
Good deal. All right. Lisa, please call the vote.
Commissioner Kent?
Yes.
Commissioner Persis?
Yes.
Commissioner Littleton?
Yes.
Commissioner Selby?
No.
Mayor Partington?
Yes. And now would be the appropriate time if any commission member would like to make comments on the consent agenda. Anyone? If not, we will move to public hearings. I will open the public hearings and we will start with 8A.
Ordinance number 2019-8, an ordinance amending the future land use element of the comprehensive plan of the city of Ormond Beach by amending the future land map to change the designation of one parcel of real property totaling 5.2 acres located at 2575 West Granada Boulevard, Volusia County property, appraisal parcel number 412800000025 from public institutional to suburban low-density residential, providing for conflict, authorizing transmittal, and setting forth an effective date. This is the second reading of ordinance number 2019-8, read by title only.
Thank you, Lisa. I don't have any cards.
Move for approval, ordinance number.
Second.
Yeah, okay. Sure.
Good deal. Any discussion or additional questions? It is the second reading. Lisa, please call the vote.
Commissioner Persis?
Yes.
Commissioner Littleton?
Yes.
Commissioner Selby?
Yes.
Commissioner Kent?
Yes.
Mayor Partington?
Yes. 8B.
Ordinance number 2019-9, an ordinance amending Chapter 3, Performance Standards, Article 6, Architectural Design Standards of the Ormond Beach Land Development Code by adding a new section 3-72, Original Artwork Murals on Private Property, regarding murals on private property, amending Chapter 2, Article 4, Conditional and Special Exception Regulations, Section 2-5778, Tattoo Parlors, repealing all inconsistent ordinances or parts thereof, and setting forth an effective date. This is the second reading of ordinance number 2019-9, read by title only.
Thank you, Lisa. I do have one card from the applicant representative, Judith Stein, on behalf of the Arts District, but I don't, unless anyone has questions for her, I think we might be able to.
Move for approval.
Second.
Any other questions or discussion? Please call the vote.
Commissioner Littleton?
Yes.
Commissioner Selby?
Yes.
Commissioner Kent?
Yes.
Commissioner Persis?
Yes.
Mayor Partington?
Yes. Thank you, Judith, for being here. 8C.
Ordinance number 2019-10, an ordinance amending Chapter 3, Performance Standards, Article 4, Sign Regulations, Section 3-48, Ingress and Egress and Address Signs for Public Safety and Traffic Circulation of the City of Ormond Beach Land Development Code by adding a section for wall sign animated, repealing all inconsistent ordinances or parts thereof, providing for severability, and setting forth an effective date. This is the second reading of ordinance number 2019-10, read by title only.
Thank you, Lisa. I don't have any cards.
Move approval.
Second.
Any further discussion? Please call the vote.
Commissioner Selby?
Yes.
Commissioner Kent,
Yes.
Commissioner Persis,
Yes.
Commissioner Littleton,
Yes.
Mayor Partington.
Yes. And 8D.
Ordinance number 2019-11, an ordinance amending subsection 7, miscellaneous of section 8-10, application processing fees of chapter 8, buildings and construction regulations, article 1 in general of the city of Ormond Beach of ordinances, repealing all inconsistent ordinances or parts thereof and setting forth an effective date. This is ordinance number 2019-11, read by title only.
Thank you, Lisa. And I will ask our planning director, Stephen Spraker, to speak on this item.
Good evening, Stephen Spraker. This is a companion to the mural ordinance, which required a fee. There was discussion in the last commission meeting of the policy. What we took from it was there was no application fee, so there's no cost for staff time, but the applicant would be required to pay the advertising cost. So the ordinance is written that there's no application fee, just the actual cost of advertising shall be required. There are 2 hearings. One is before the Art Districts Board, and then the second is before the City Commission. Based on the building improvement grant, we would expect it to be about $150 for each advertisement, which would then be billed to the applicant. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Stephen. Any questions for Stephen? I do have one card. Bill Partington Sr. on 8D.
Mr. Mayor and Commission, I live at 4 Pine Valley Circle, and the first time I was in Ormond Beach City Hall was in 1971. It was an old bank building that was on this property, I believe, and I was a member of something they called a sign committee. So the sign committee, I'm very happy to see that this ordinance clearly states that a mural is not a sign. A mural is a public art presentation that someone is going to spend between $5,000 and $10,000 to give as a gift to the city of Ormond Beach. The fact that it is on private property is another advantage to the city because the city doesn't have to maintain it. And as has been pounded into our heads, the commission is unable to evaluate the art based on any criteria other than what is in the ordinance. So it very well may be that you won't even be able to see the mural, and you may get a report that says that the mural meets, in the opinion of the committee, meets the intent of the ordinance, and in that way you would be clear of any opinion about whether the art is good or bad, whether you like it or not. It's still an ordinance. My point is that if there is a fee, I don't think that it's important for the art district, and I'm not a direct member of the art district, but I'm involved with Main Street. I think that the staff thinks that an advertisement is necessary. I think that there should be a fee of $1 or less to the applicant, since they're already giving the gift of between $5,000 and $10,000 to the city to have the mural put up and maintained. Otherwise, if there's a higher fee than that, it would be a disincentive to the gift of $5,000 to $10,000 to the city for artwork. Thank you.
Thank you. Just need a motion and a second for any discussion.
Move approval.
Second.
Any discussion? Commissioner Selby.
Mayor, thank you. I concur with your dad, Bill Sr. You know, this is a gift. This is art in a public place. This is a gift. It's a legal technicality, I would say, more than anything else, so that it has to be advertised. The amount of money that the building owner and the artist won't, but the building owner and the other volunteers, their time that they're contributing in order to make this whole thing happen is gigantic. And to me, it's while I understand and I'm a huge supporter of it. In fact, I'm the one of the ones who supported the concept of making the historical buildings that went on and off the historic list pay to do that. Well, actually, to go off it, not to go on it, but to go off it. And so I fully understand that, and I hope I'm not viewed as being a hypocrite. But in this case, I believe this is that we should encourage people to do that, especially in the early times. And so I could support a 1-year abatement of these fees, of these advertising fees, in order to stimulate the activity of them. And then maybe once they catch on, then we can, in fact, recoup the advertising costs. But as it stands right now, I will vote no.
Anyone else? Commissioner Persis.
Yeah, my concern, I love the murals, and I'm very excited to have them in the city of Ormond Beach. I know we have some fabulous artists that will, make some of these buildings really pop. My concern is setting a precedent. If it's a fee that's supposed to be collected, I think we need to collect it. If we set a precedence and don't collect it, are we going to do that for someone else? And I just need some guidance. Randy, maybe you could help me with that, because I don't want to, like I said, start something that that could be a problem.
Right. Well, the fee is really for the public notice requirements. The Art District, Inc. is basically going to be operating as the city's board. So it's got to comply fully with the Sunshine Law requirements, for open meeting requirements. It's got to take the minutes. The planning staff is going to be the liaison for that. That's what the recovery of the fee is, or I guess the obligation of the payment for the public hearing requirement. If you want to waive the fee, I suspect that you can do that. The ordinance that you just passed does have a provision in there that says that the city shall not incur any costs associated with the murals. Right. But that would also include the cost for advertising the public hearing. So if you want to do, if you want the city to assume the advertising costs, then we'll need to go back and revisit that component of the ordinance. That's fine. Or the other way you could treat it is just on a case-by-case basis. You could leave the ordinance that you adopted as it is, and then just make a policy decision with each application on whether or not you want to waive the advertisement fee. You could do it that way as well. It's more of a policy. It's not binding on future commissions in any way, but you could certainly amend the code respectively. But that's what this fee provision is designed to state. That there won't be an application fee per se, but there is going to be costs associated with the public hearing process, and somebody's going to have to pay for that.
And who's going to have to pay for that then?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right. It's either the applicant or the city. So there's no in between.
Okay.
We'll see what everybody else thinks. It's such a nominal cost. $150 or whatever it is. I really don't think it's a problem to require that, but if somebody else has an issue with it. Commissioner Middleton?
Sure. I'm fine with the city paying for it. I don't want to disincentivize anyone from making the investment into our community. It's only going to cost us maybe $2,000 to $4,000 total if we have 5 to 10 murals. So that's how I stand. I'm not exactly in favor of a reimbursement fee.
Maybe I should have been more clear. I am in favor of the reimbursement fee, just because the city's already incurring the staff time and all the other work involved in moving the process forward. the $150 fee I see as just a reimbursement for the hard cost of the advertising and possibly disincentive to somebody wanting to do a mural, bring a mural to us, not through the process and say, well, you waived it for them, you got to waive it for me. Just to avoid all that, I think a small fee actually serves as a little bit of protection. But Deputy Mayor Kent.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The good news is it sounds like everyone's in agreement that we want really great looking, classy murals in Ormond Beach. And that's, I think, really positive. And they can be a really great draw. I mean, just look at our neighbors in DeLand and the people that drive over to get their picture taken with those angel wings. I mean, it happens. People make special trips for things like that. So we disagree a little bit on who should pay for this. And I am 1,000% with Commissioner Persis on this, that our taxpayers should not be hit with this bill. Whoever is going to do this, and I agree with you, Mr. Mayor, there's staff time involved, there's advertising involved, and it's a nominal fee. So there's also concern about, and Commissioner Persis mentioned this, about a precedent that we set. And it's really difficult for me to treat people differently. If you do it for one group, then we really should do it for other groups, and that's a slippery slope I don't want to go down. But I totally get the logic behind waiving that fee. But because it's such a nominal fee, I think that they're going to be wildly successful in our community anyway. So I will be voting for this. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Anyone else? With that, Lisa, if you would, please call the vote.
Commissioner Kent?
Yes.
Commissioner Persis?
Yes.
Commissioner Littleton?
No.
Commissioner Selby?
No.
Mayor Partington?
Yes, and we will close the public hearings and move to 9A.
Ordinance number 2019-12, an ordinance amending Section 5-1, definitions, and Section 5-5, cruelty of Chapter 5, animals and fowl, Article 1, in general, of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Ormond Beach by prohibiting the tethering of animals, providing exceptions and conditions for the humane tethering of animals, providing for enforcement, providing penalties for violators, repealing all inconsistent ordinances or parts thereof, and setting forth an effective date. This is ordinance number 2019-12, read by title only.
Thank you, Lisa. I don't have any cards on this item. I'll ask our police chief, Jesse Godfrey, to speak on this item.
Good evening,
Good evening.
Commissioners and Mayor. Jesse Godfrey, your chief. This is pretty straightforward. This is an addendum to the cruelty ordinance, and we are adding the tethering at the request of the commission through the direction of the city manager. I'm here to answer any questions if you have any.
Commissioner Persis.
No, first of all, thank you for coming up and talking about this. This is something I brought up when, actually last spring, I believe, or early summer. And I read about it in the paper because the city of Ponce Inlet, they have an ordinance, just very similar to how this one reads. And I know many of you out there have probably seen in the paper or on the news, you hear about people who do abuse animals, and it's vile, it's cruel, it's just awful. And so I'm very excited to see that the city seems to want to do this, and I think we need to protect our animals and our pets, and because we love them just like our family. And I know I have 2 cats, and I wouldn't want anyone to hurt them, and I know you all out there have pets too. So I think this is really important. I know that one part of the one of the points in here, and Randy, you can help me with this, I think there is something it says that in a public place that you might be able to tether your animal. That's the one thing I'm against, because I'm against tethering no matter where you are, whether you're in your home or in a public place. So that would be that's my only thing that I just want to say about it.
Any other questions for the chief? Thank you, Chief. Thank you. I kind of agree with you. I appreciate Randy bringing up that policy point, but the almost more important in public that you have control of your animal on a leash or however you control your animal, but that we not allow tethering in parks or anything like that. Anyone else wish to address this 9A?
Yeah, I would agree with both you and Commissioner Persis. So I'm also pleased, that Randy, thank you, Mr. City Attorney, for sending out that clarification. I don't know when that hit you, but I thanked you. You didn't know it, but I was reading the email and I was like, thank you, Randy. This is perfect.
Yeah.
So,
It was.
yeah, good stuff.
Just in case. That's right.
Can I ask you
Commissioner
a
Little.
question? Randy, if we were to make a motion on this, would we, when making the motion, have to add the words that you gave us in the email?
Yeah, that would be appropriate, and probably a simple way to do it, since you're all in agreement, I think, is just to incorporate these changes as part of the maker of the motion and the second, rather than going through the process of amending that, and that'll work. And if you want, I can read it into the record. At paragraph 2, we would just delete the words, excuse me, or public, and then you would add a paragraph P under number 2 that would read, tethering on public property shall be prohibited at all times. So if you want to make that part of the main motion, part of the second motion, I think that'll be sufficient for first reading.
Okay, I move approval of ordinance number 2019-12 with the changes Randy just mentioned.
Who was our seconder?
I second the motion.
Are you okay with
Yes.
those changes?
The exchanges, yes.
Any other discussion? Lisa, please call the vote.
Commissioner Persis,
Yes.
Commissioner Littleton,
Yes.
Commissioner Selby,
Yes.
Commissioner Kent,
Yes.
Mayor Partington.
Yes. And we move to suggestions, comments, requests, and reports. And we start tonight with City Manager Joyce Shanahan.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As you know, we're fast approaching the midpoint of actually we're past our midpoint of our fiscal year, so we're going to be preparing for our budget workshops. The capital budget workshop is on June 4th, and the operating budget is on July 30th. And between those times, you normally take a break to give staff time to prepare for the budget. So we would greatly appreciate if you continue that tradition. A couple of things coming up. We have the half-cent sales tax public meeting. This is our second public meeting we've had on this issue. Wednesday, April 10th from 6 to 7:30 at the Senior Center. We have a brief PowerPoint slide and then different stations throughout the room to view the projects that are on the city's list. We're asking residents to vote with dots about projects that are important to them. We've had about 200 people visit our website to review the projects and vote on those, and once we have all of those, we'll bring back to you that list so you can decide if you want to make some prioritizations at that time.
Thank you, Joyce, for going the extra effort on the half-cent sales tax to make sure our residents have every opportunity to be involved. Did you say, is it Senior Center or Casements?
I believe it's at the Senior Center.
Okay. Just wanted to double check.
Will that be 6 o'clock?
It's 6 to 7:30. There'll be a brief presentation at the beginning, and then staff, there's 8 or 10 staff there to answer questions. You're welcome to attend. We're essentially complete with the Forest Hills Connector Trail. If you haven't had a chance to walk that, I encourage you to do so. They've done a really excellent job, and we're really excited to see students using that, getting back and forth to school. The fishing pier is nearly complete. It's about 98% complete. The decking is complete, and the contractor is working on the electrical lighting, so we're really happy to get that back up and running. Staff has begun discussions with our 3 collective bargaining teams, the firefighters union, the police union, and the general employees union. So, Mayor, with the Commission's permission, I would like to schedule a shade meeting on May 21st so we can share with you. We've just started the negotiations, so I don't have any real firm positions that they have at this point in time, but we wanted to get something on your calendar if that meets with the approval of the Commission. May 21st at 5:30.
What is this about?
Shade meeting. Union negotiations.
And those are the few,
That's a commission meeting night, so we'd
yes,
have
5:30.
a workshop prior to that.
If that's okay.
That works with my schedule.
Works for me. Everybody's
Yes.
Great.
We appreciate that. And just for those listening at home, all the work that we do is completed in the sunshine, and even when the unions come, other people can come in and watch those. But the commission can talk about things outside the sunshine or in private, only on legal matters and collective bargaining. So, in legal matters, they have to be in active litigation, I believe. So, so we'll see you on the 21st on that. And if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer any of those.
Thank you. Any questions for City Manager? We move to Assistant City Manager Claire Whitley.
I have nothing to add. Thank you.
Thank you. And City Attorney Randy Hayes.
No, sir. Thank you and good night.
All right. Tonight we start with Commissioner Selby.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First of all, I wanted to thank you. You wrote a letter, one letter to Volusia County and another letter to the City of Daytona Beach. The letter to the county encouraged them to add to their half-cent sales tax list the Hand Avenue extension and also septic to sewer for the North Peninsula. And the letter to Daytona Beach, the City of Daytona Beach, only addressed the Hand Avenue extension, of course. And I just, it was very well written, and I just appreciate you, taking the initiative to get that out there.
And that was, just so the credit where credit is due, that was kind of at the request of Commissioner Littleton. We were going to do one as an entire commission, but we would have had to come back, and I felt like it needed to go out quicker than that. So, but yes, thank you. And thank you, Commissioner Littleton, for egging that on, I guess we would say. My apologies, Commissioner Littleton. I didn't want to slight you, credit for that. Let's see, a couple of events, activities recently. Of course, I participated in the town hall meeting a week ago, the half-cent sales tax, with Volusia County Chairman Ed Kelly and County Manager George Rechtenwald. There were about 100 people there. I thought it went incredibly well. And to that end, one of the people who regularly attends Daytona Beach City Commission meetings, I saw him a couple of days later, and he commented that he thought he had been to several of these town halls, and he thought it was the best one he had been to, that what he said was, we answered the questions. And I looked at him kind of funny. I'm like, well, yeah, isn't that what we're supposed to do? And he says, well, you'd be surprised how, when you give a politician a microphone, they can talk for 3-4 minutes and talk nothing about what was asked, So he was impressed with the fact that we actually answered the questions. We also had a First Step Shelter board meeting last week. You may have read about that in the paper. I'm confident we're going to get the shelter built. I don't have a lot of confidence in that we're going to get the $400,000 that we need for furniture, fixtures, and equipment from the state of Florida. In talking with Tom Leake about that does not look good. It's going to put a serious dent in the budget. I really honestly don't know how we're going to solve that. So, but we'll figure it out. We've got 4 or 5 months, 6 months or so until the shelter is supposed to be open. I also participated I attended the downtown master plan. I won't steal Commissioner Persis' thunder, but last Thursday they had an organizational meeting, and I observed that. And then several of us attended the Futures dinner honoring Bob and Bobby Coleman, and I feel bad for Matt being written out of the will, the family will, but the humor was great. His son and 2 others roasted Bob and Bobby, and Matt may pay the price in his inheritance because of that. So, and then a couple of other quick items. One is recycling. Just tonight, had a couple of citizens approach me on recycling, and I've had a couple of phone calls also regarding it. And I think first of all, the education campaign is getting the word out, because that's how people know that things are changing. But the
the glass, I think, is eliminating glass is really bothering people. You know, it really is. It's and I get it, because glass, glass is 100% recyclable, basically unlimited number of times. The problem is the mixed colors really makes it virtually no market for it. And because we're single stream, well, you guys know all this, so I'm not telling you anything that you don't know. I don't know really how we deal with that. I have a feeling that people are not going to be happy. You know, it's a pretty lengthy conversation. I'm sure each of you may have already had to have one of those or more with residents. It's really unfortunate, and maybe we can change buying patterns. You know, that would be ideal if there was a way to not buy so much glass. That would help tremendously, especially with malted beverages, as I've mentioned in the past. They taste just about the same in an aluminum can, which is still fully recyclable, as they do in a bottle. And the last thing I just wanted to mention was, spoke to Ike Leary about this earlier, a resident who lives right in this immediate area and is a photography buff, Jennifer Kraft, brought it to my attention that next year, in the coming year, there are going to be a lot of launches at the Cape, and that our bridge is an excellent place to watch those launches. And she's prepared to help, you know, and Ike has talked about staying open a little later on launch nights, and that might be a cool way to get residents together to experience, you know, more of these launches. So I just thought I'd mention that that's a, you know, kind of a thing that's going on out there, and she offered to help on social media to get the word out, and I'm excited about that. And with that, I'll say goodnight.
Thank you, Commissioner Selby. Deputy Mayor Kent.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Start out with Jarlene from the Observer is back. Glad to see you, Jarlene. Missed you. Glad you're back here with us. I, too, attended the Futures Foundation dinner, and I just briefly wanted to mention that Bob and Bobby Coleman have done so many great things in Ormond Beach and beyond. So I thought it was a really great tribute for what they have done in our area. I had coffee with Commissioner Kent at my house yesterday, and it's always a good coffee with Commissioner when I have to bring more chairs into the room. We had a great crowd. It was a healthy conversation, and our next meeting will be Monday, May 6th at my home, 130 Magnolia Drive, 4:30 to 5:30 p.m., and we talk about anything that you would like to talk about. I had recycling written down as well, and I wrote down next to it better education, because I started to see the city of Ormond Beach get blasted for not recycling glass. Same thing you talked about, Commissioner Selby. And I thought, you know, we kept a recycling program. There are communities that have just done away with it. And we want to recycle glass. And I just thought I wanted to bring it up, and I know Commissioner Selby's heard about it because he said he has. And I just saw on social media where people were really, you know, kind of putting it out there like, really, Ormond Beach? Like, really? You know, you're doing this? And I just thought, Joyce, if there was a way that we could get the word out why this is happening. We didn't ask for this. We're adjusting with the times. We kept a recycling program instead of just getting rid of it and, you know, saving money. We know it's important.
We have it on our website, all of those
Right.
handouts and whatnot, but we can do a better outreach into the community.
Right. And I'm looking down and I see other commissioners actually have the handouts that came, and that's what people were posting. Was they were posting, you know, it says no glass, and I don't know the answer. I don't know how we get it out there, like if in that trifold, if, you know, we have something written that says, you know, this is why, if people will even read that. I don't know. I just know that to combat that on social media, I mean, it's a losing battle. And, you know, just not enough time in the day to do that. But I think it's important for our residents to know that every single one of us talked about how passionate we feel about recycling, that we support it and we want it to continue, and we didn't do like other cities and completely just abandon the program. So I did have that written down. And last but not least, baseball season has begun, and my son plays at Nova Rec, the same fields where the mayor and I grew up playing ball. That's where I hit my one and only home run over the fence. I mean, it's great memories that I have at Nova Rec. And we talked about the national anthem being played at each of those games. And I'm pleased to report to the commission that for the most part that is happening. If you have a late game, like an 8 p.m. game, they've already done the national anthem at 6:30, and they don't want to interrupt the other games that are in play, and I understand that. But the reason I brought this up was we have a young man in our audience today that I want to talk about. And, Pierce Billings is out there. And Commissioner Persis, we talked about how important it was to make sure, and all of us did, but we talked about how important it was that the national anthem was played. And Pierce took it a step further. And I happened to see a video of him singing the national anthem for baseball community night at Nova Rec. And I just wanted you to know, Pierce, that takes guts. You have a beautiful voice. It was patriotic. I loved it, and it's really good stuff. Thank you for sharing that talent with the people in Ormond Beach and beyond. And I say beyond because I wasn't present to hear it, but I saw it on social media, and I was so proud. In fact, I said, I know him when you were doing it, and I made Wyatt come in and listen to it as well. So I wanted to end on that note. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Good stuff, for sure. Commissioner Persis.
That's great. Hey, Pierce, can you stand up so we can give you a big round of applause? Please.
Thank you.
Fabulous job. I wish I had been there. Well, good evening, everyone. I, too, wanted to bring up recycling, and I'm sure, like, you all got these in the mail. And they did come in the mail, I think, to every resident through your, which bill was it? I'm not sure. Water bill. Yeah, it was with the water bill. So you may have not pulled all of the stuff out, but it was in there. And this is very helpful. But I do agree we need, with what both Commissioner Selby said and Deputy Mayor Kent said, that we do need to explain again to people. Sometimes it's better to hear it again. I know it was in the paper a lot about what happened with China. That was basically because they weren't taking our recycling anymore. So that's basically why one of the reasons why we can't send our glass over there. So I agree. If we can maybe put something out in the paper, maybe Darlene could help with that, just to let the residents know why we're not doing that.
Commissioner Persis?
Yes.
Because I saw some heads shaking no when you said it came in the water bill, but mine came in a separate envelope.
It was a separate mailing.
I think it was from Waste Pro or...
Yeah.
It was from Waste Pro then.
And if you haven't gotten it yet, it'll be on the way. They're doing it in waves, so you may not have received it yet, but it is coming. So just wanted to include that.
No, thank you. Thank you very much. So anyway, the next thing I wanted to mention was I attended the Ormond Beach Fire Department's awards ceremony last week, and it was just like the best event, one of the best events I've been to. And Chief Severs, you just did a fabulous job, and there was one retirement, there were 2 promotions, and 3 new hires, and it was so much fun seeing the excitement on the person that was going to retire. They were very excited, and of course the people that were being promoted were thrilled, and then the new hires were just beyond ecstatic. So it was just so much fun to see it, and I love that because I know in my career I had to work hard to move up. And that's what the people in your department are doing, and it shows that they're dedicated. Deputy Mayor Kent, you know how it is. You got to work hard to move up. You had to do that as an assistant principal, and so I just know the hard work it takes and the perseverance and the dedication. So I was just very proud to be there. And then I did attend the first Downtown Steering Committee meeting, and I'm the city's representative on that committee. We had some great talks about some of the traffic issues, and one thing I learned was that we're all going to start looking at how to maybe connect the three areas that really make up Ormond Main Street. It's basically the creek area, the river area, and the ocean area. And I never heard of them referred to like that until at that meeting. So we talked about how we could, maybe get that all together. So there'll be more information to come. I'll be telling you, and certainly if any of the other commissioners come, we can all talk about it because it's very exciting. There's some very exciting stuff coming up. And then lastly, I just want to say I'm just really thrilled about the possibility of this new ordinance about the anti-tethering of animals and pets. And I did also find out that Volusia County passed the Animal Abuser Database, and it's a site where residents, veterinarians, or anybody who sells pets can go online and make sure that the people who are purchasing these pets are not on this animal abuser list. So I think that's really exciting. So the more municipalities involved in this may create this ordinance to go county and statewide, and I sure hope that that does happen. So with that, I'll say good night.
Thank you, Commissioner Persis. Commissioner Littleton.
Thank you, Mayor. On Thursday, the mayor and I attended the Volusia League of Cities dinner. It was held in Holly Hill. They did a wonderful job. And the speakers spoke about diabetes. And I won't go through it all, but you'd be surprised that, 37% of people don't even know they have it or something in the room. And it can be terrible and a hard disease to treat. And really, actually, I would suggest you go and learn about diabetes and whether or not you can, how you can prevent it for yourself and make your life easier, especially in older age. I wanted to talk, I know that trees were a hot button issue over recent years. Senate Bill 1400, they're considering it in Tallahassee today. It would prohibit local governments from requiring a permit for tree trimming and removal under certain circumstances. And essentially, it would make it impossible for local governments to protect their tree canopies and preserve heritage trees. So I understand if the environment and trees and the such was a hot button issue for you during the last campaign. The city might be preempted from even protecting them at all. So it's something I would hope you keep an eye out for. And Commissioner Selby, you mentioned rocket launches. Sunday at 6:36, SpaceX is launching. It's the second launch of the Falcon Heavy, which is the one that sent the the Tesla, out to space and everything. And both rockets landed back down in Cape Canaveral. And I'm a big little space nerd like that, so I pay attention to that. I have a great view looking south over my roof out in the street there to see the things. But I'd go to the Granada Bridge to watch them. With that, I'll say goodnight.
Thank you, Commissioner Littleton. I just wanted to recognize our school board chairman, Carl Persis, who's been kind enough to join us this evening. And Carl, former mayor as well. Yay. Thank you for being here. We are excited. I talked to Superintendent Russell about a joint meeting between your board and our board. That hasn't happened probably in 15 years, 12 or 15 years, but it looks like it's going to happen. I guess there's some scheduling and some agendaing kind of stuff that has to happen, but just wanted to tell you we're looking forward to it, and thank you for being receptive to that. The recycling issue, I've been fielding the same phone calls, and it really does seem to be mostly centered around the glass. I think we could recycle glass if our residents are willing to pay whatever that additional fee is. I don't know if that's something we want to explore, how much additional it would cost to continue to recycle glass, and then explaining to our residents that it could essentially be paying for nothing because it's going to go to the landfill anyway. I don't know if there's an alternative. There's a glasstosand.com website where Expelco makes a machine that specifically turns glass into sand. If that was something, I don't have no idea how much it costs. My guess is $5,000 or $6,000 probably, and then maintaining it and whatever else. But if there was a way we could put one of those at the Environmental Discovery Center and allow people to bring their glass there on some kind of limited basis and then use that sand somewhere in the city. Supposedly it creates safe, usable sand, whether it was sandbags or sand boxes or beach renourishment at some level. There are ways that we can look at continuing to try to recycle. I like Commissioner Selby's idea of encouraging people to use less glass, because that's really the only thing that's ultimately going to solve the issue. But Joyce, I would ask you to try to be creative, and maybe this isn't the best option. Maybe there's some other idea or option that's better, but just keep working, keep looking, trying to find something, because it's obvious that our residents, even if they had to pay a little more, I think, want to do the right thing. With a 93% recycle rate, it's obvious that they're concerned about this and are going to continue to voice those concerns. So if we can address that in a positive way, I think that would be it'd be great, and it'd be good for the environment. Thank you, Commissioner Selby, for your leadership on the half-cent sales tax issue. That wasn't an easy meeting. I know you were a little under the weather that day anyway, but to go and face tough questions, and like the feedback you got said, the fact that you answered them, I think is fantastic for our city, and that's a very positive thing. I also attended the Futures fundraiser Saturday night, and it was a perfect couple to honor. The amount of public service that Bob and Bobby Coleman have provided to this community is just mind-boggling. I don't think I've ever read a proclamation with as many different boards and committees and services for both of them. Each one had a huge list of contributions. And I've got to thank our deputy mayor. Pretty much almost the entire commission was there. Our deputy mayor helped me present that proclamation. It's on Facebook, on social media, if you haven't had a chance to see it. But because you were up there with me, helping with the plaque and the key and everything else, that presentation was 20 times better than it would have been otherwise. So thank you, Deputy Mayor, for that. Appreciate you being there. Commissioner Persis, I wanted to congratulate you and thank you for your leadership on the tethering ordinance. And I'm going to ask you not to stop, because I want to make Ormond Beach the most animal-friendly city in the state, if not the nation. So it sounded like you've already got some ideas on some other things to work on, but that was I remember that was a campaign promise of yours. So promises made, promises kept, and you're going to keep working on it, I'm sure. So, and then Commissioner Littleton, you did have the idea for the letter to Daytona Beach, and I think the county too. Originally, we had wanted to do that and have it be signed by all of us, but just the trying to bring something back that the whole commission could approve, comply with sunshine, and drag it out to another meeting, just decided to go ahead and write it and get it out. So thank you for bringing that up and helping us get that done. Can't do it. There's no way I can do it all by myself. So having great leadership up here really makes a huge difference for our city, and I really appreciate it. The thing I'll leave on is Chief Tomoki up at Tomoka State Park. A lot of people don't realize that Tomoka State Park is entirely within the city limits of Ormond Beach. And Chief Tomoki is a artwork slash statue slash archaeological site fixture that has been there probably 62 years. And a priority of mine, and I'm getting a lot of community support to move forward with restoring it to its natural, and when it was first done in 1957, I think it was Dana Marsh was the artist, restoring it to that splendor and making it attraction like it once was for people from all over the state to come and see it is a continued priority for me, and I don't want to forget about it. I want to keep working on it. Some of the folks that have been interested in the community believe that there are grant funds readily available from some different agencies. I've contacted some folks from the Florida State Parks Association who are going to get back to me. I've talked to Scott Cornelius at the Tomoka Outpost. He and his wife run the Tomoka Outpost, and they oftentimes have their son, little son there, who's the March of Dimes child, I believe, this year. But he believes that the community will support an effort to restore that, and that raising money, if we need to, beyond whatever grant funding might be available, won't be a problem. And so I just wanted to make you guys aware of that I'm continuing to work on that, and hope to see something maybe in the next year or two, because just like the rest of us, Chief Tomoki is not getting any younger. So with that, we will close and be adjourned. Thank you all very much.